Can we have an honest conversation here? You know, I've always said on this channel what we will not now, not ever do on this channel is sacrifice truth value and objectivity at the altar of partisanship or any other cognitive dissonance worthy of the moniker. I feel like we've been a canary in the mine for the longest time as far as all things Sir Lewis Hamilton, speaking truth to the circumstance that Lewis is 40 years old, that if he's to do what he's been doing all his career, of course, and win an unprecedented 8th World Drivers' Championship, that the hill climb, the slope up which he's going to have to navigate is super steep. The gradient is mega. Why? Well, because there's only a few drivers ever who've done what Lewis Hamilton's trying to do. Juan Fangio's the only one who's won in in 3 or more different teams. He is the only dude. Juan Fangio. That tells you the caliber of dude that he is. How many drivers have won the championship at 40 years old or older? 3. 66, Brabham. Farina in 1950, the first ever F1 championship, and Juan Fangio again in 1957. Context, therefore, is key. Does that mean that Sir Lewis can't do it? Well, absolutely flipping not. It doesn't. But does that mean that it's the highest probability outcome? Absolutely not. It will be difficult, chat. You're going in there against a fire-breathing dragon in Charles Leclerc. And so too, last year he passed his prologue, and F1 history doesn't necessarily repeat, but it does rhyme from time to time. If you struggle against King George in qualifying and Frederick Vasseur, Ferrari team principal, them their red overalls with the yellow badge and black prancing horse at the top, if Frederick Vasseur is telling you that 2025 is turning into the qualifying championship and you get roundly outperformed by George Russell last year, what chance, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do you stand against a fire-breathing dragon in Charles Leclerc? Oh, wait. Slim and none. That's just the truth. Now listen, I don't want to bathe in the tears of the extremist Sir Lewis Hamilton fan base at each and every single turn telling me that I'm not a fan. Yet and still, I've been here since 2006, 2007, when they weren't, for the most part, even watching Formula One. It would be very easy to bathe in their tears, but watching that interview of Sir Lewis Hamilton post-quali breaks my heart. I've spoken ad infinitum about the dichotomy that is being a Sir Lewis Hamilton fan, loving that chap, but hating his fans, and the fact that they always fail to believe the evidence of their own eyes and ears. Faith, some say, is believing in something sans evidence, without evidence, and that's what the likes of Mama Cameron, by the way, have been doing for the longest time. Of course Sir Lewis Hamilton's going to win an 8th. They said, you saw him, marketing behemoth. He's not a businessman, he's a business, man. Jay-Z settings. Of course that must mean, that must surely drip feed into some success on track. F1 chat doesn't work like that though. This isn't Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. This is not a bloody fairy tale. I'm sorry to break it to the F1 community. These things don't work like that. I preface what I'm about to say though with that. As far as watching the bloody interview with Sir Lewis Hamilton, for those who didn't see it, go and watch it. If again, your shoulders and emotional bandwidth is sufficiently robust, because it's a tough watch. EC, you are right. It's a difficult watch and I struggled to get through it. During the radio, during the qualifying, there was communication again between Sir Lewis and Riccardo Adami. After another underperformance session from Sir Lewis at the ripe old age of 40, Sir Lewis jumped over the radio and he said, listen guys, I am sorry. Almost looking deep into the eyes of his own mortality, realising what we've been talking about all this time on this channel, that it's going to be difficult. There are no fairy tales in F1. You don't just jump into a red car with a yellow badge and a black prancing horse atop and beat a fire-breathing dragon in Charles Leclerc, who all the while has been crafting that team out in his image. Lewis Hamilton today, therefore, said, I am sorry for my performance, for my underperformance. He was asked in the post-qualifying scrum by Rebecca Clancy, I want to say, what was that about, Lewis? That radio message, the apology, what was it for? And what was it like feeling the car? The interview was giving him a out. If you just want to talk about the car here, Lewis, just talk about the car. Talk about the fact that you don't have the instability at the rear. That's what you're apologising for. That your underperformance is by dint, no a function of that. The interview gave him an out, but Lewis Hamilton didn't take that. He said, it's just about my performance, poor performance. What's the reason for that, Lewis? Is it the car? Is it the upgrade package? Was it the setup? Comes the next question. To which Sir Lewis doubles down yet again and says, no, that's not the reason. It's just poor performance. Just I'm not doing the job. How, ladies and gentlemen, Wayne, Safak, how can you have watched Sir Lewis Hamilton in his pomp and pride and so too be a fan of F1 and not have a broken heart seeing Lewis talk like that? Now, Ted Kravitz on the notebook said, Karan Chandik even on the notebook said as follows: you'd be forgiven for closing your eyes and thinking that this was 2024, because this is what Sir Lewis has been saying over the past 12 months, that there's something about the car that doesn't just gel with my style, that I'm not fast anymore. You remember, this is Sir Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champion, talking 104 race victories, etc. To hear Sir Lewis talk like that is a breaking of the space-time continuum, right? It just doesn't make sense. I never thought I would hear those words out of Lewis Hamilton's mouth last year. I'm just not fast anymore. Now, the F1 aficionado, the discerning eye amongst us, will argue that Lewis then was using that as a motivation tool. He was leveraging sarcasm. No, he didn't mean that. Of course, he could not have meant that. When did Lewis just become slow? You don't become slow as a 7-time champion. Lewis, therefore, was weaponising his own words with a view to leverage that to gain performance in absolute terms. Lap time, some say. Today, however, felt a little bit different. It didn't feel like Lewis was weaponising anything. It felt like a coming to moment. It felt like a moment of import even, that Lewis Hamilton was just being open and honest, speaking about his performance over the last few races, that in qualifying he's been anywhere between 2 and 3 tenths regularly, routinely shy of his teammate Charles Leclerc. Is it a Saturday thing that came the next question? Yes. Well, it happens every Saturday. My heart's broken, chap Tony. I don't know what the solve is. I don't know what the exam answer is. But if I'm covering the sport, it would be churlish, no foolhardy of me to not cover this. Now, you see certain Sir Lewis Hamilton fans out there, they won't talk about this properly. I'm a Sir Lewis Hamilton fan, and it burned me in my heart, to my soul and core, to see Sir Lewis talking like that. It really did. This wasn't satirical. There was no sarcasm in this. This wasn't Sir Lewis weaponising his own words to motivate himself going forward with a view to continuously improve. This was not that. This was different, and that's why, chat, it saddens my heart. It's techie. Did Cameron put respect on Charles Leclerc's? Charles was at bad A, P3. I'll say that. But again, I feel like that's not the story. Charles hasn't been bad for the past 13, 14, 15 months, No longer is he making the mistakes. And this is why, chat, if we're having the conversation under the umbrella heading of Sir Lewis Hamilton, this is why I really wanted Sir Lewis to tick his bucket list item and go across the Ferrari, their red overalls, past the settings, Maranello, Milan. I get it. I understand it. As long as Lewis has been around F1, he's always said he wanted to drive for Ferrari, and it makes sense, therefore, at the ripe old age of 40, to go and do it now before the opportunity is no longer. Makes sense, right? But timing is everything. And I wish that Sir Lewis had gone over there 2 years ago when Charles was still making the mistake, when he was not the fire-breathing dragon that he is, when he was still making mistakes ad infinitum in extremis of the unforced variety. Now, however, it feels like Charles is he is nearly in his final form, Super Saiyan settings, and that makes Lewis Hamilton look even worse. It puts the pressure on Lewis Hamilton and dials it up to 12-teen, and that's what I don't like. That's why you have Lewis Hamilton looking at his performance and saying, what is going on? Failing to understand that it's not just the upgrades, it's a combination of things. It's the ground effect car. Now at Bahrain, you understand that we've got the tyre Deg story as well. The one that he struggled with last year, making all of his mistakes in qualifying as near as makes no difference in Sector 3. Is the ground effect handling dynamic that he doesn't like, that doesn't suit his late aggressive braking style. It's all of these things rolled into one. It's a multitude of things as far as a causation pie, and that makes me concerned. All of the Sir Lewis Hamilton fans and extremists in the world can say, well, listen, it's a bit soon. It's a bit too soon. It's only 4 races deep. It's only a qualifying session. But these things have been going on now for the best part of 36 months. Again, if you're going to do the F1 maths, if you struggle against King George Russell of Kings Lynn Norfolk in qualifying, what makes you think that the struggle isn't going to be worse, more extensive, broader in terms of its parameters when you get over to the red team with them their yellow badges, black prancing horse atop against Charles Leclerc? This is nonsense. Like, this is Abbott of unreasoned settings, and I cannot be that. But yeah, and still, it was sad, Wayne, name a driver who had the driving industry outright steal a championship from. I tell you what, Wayne, I don't think it's that day where we talk about any of those things. It's a sad time. Eye water settings, Wayne. I didn't like the interview, and I don't like the fact that it felt like I was being vindicated in all my concerns about a 40-year-old Sir Lewis Hamilton struggling in that there red car. Let's talk about Charles very quickly, because he was decent, but yet and still shackled by the parameters within which, the very narrow parameters that is Scuderia Ferrari. He doesn't have the bloody car, nor does Lewis for that matter. They've put on the upgraded floor, but what does that mean? They put on the pull rod suspension, but you've got to take time. You need some runway lead time to adapt the car to that circumstance. So what are we talking about here? This is nonsense for Scuderia Ferrari. And if you want an idea of exactly how pressurized that circumstance is, you only need to listen to the Sky Sports F1 bods talking about Luca Di Montezemolo. Here's what he had to say. Luca said that there is considerable pressure from the leadership at Ferrari. So what therefore they need is inspirational, pioneering leadership. Ergo, quote, Luca Di Montezemolo says, Ferrari is a team that lacks leadership in the broader sense. That's a quote from Simon Lazenby at Sky Sports F1. It's peak, therefore, for Frederick Vasseur, team principal of that red team with a yellow badge and black prancing horse top. As far as his tenure, the Sandtimer has turned around on it. They need to succeed. They need to win themselves some silverware. Rob Smedley has told you a gazillion times on any podcast worthy of note that if you win at Ferrari, if you are successful, you'll never need to buy a drink or a meal in Italy. They will look after you. For Ferrari is Italy's team. If you lose, however, the Tifosi will spit on you in the street. Now, that's extremes. I get that you understand the analogy and the euphemism, but I think that the furore around Ferrari, around Lewis Hamilton signing for Ferrari, is now. It was brilliant when it first happened in the first instant. Fantastic settings, standing ovation settings, black pinstripe suit settings, F40, Ferrari F40 settings. It was brilliant. Fast forward now, though. I don't think they're quite at the spitting in them in the street phase, but that Ferrari train is never late. It's going to get techie. Safak, I'm telling you, the pressure on Lewis is great. Everyone expects him to be good right away. 100%. 100%. But why wouldn't you, Safak, is the point. 2007, was Lewis Hamilton good straight away? You bet your bottom dollar he was, in his pomp and his prime, round the outside of Fernando El Pan Alonso, race 1, turn 1, Australia, as if he was a fire-breathing veteran, not a rookie in his first race in Formula 1. So if past his prologue, you'll forgive me, Safak, for expecting similar from Sir Lewis Hamilton this time round. It's my expectations are not fair. They're not set fair. Therefore, let's talk about OJ and this McLaren. It felt like a looking in the eyes of your mortality session, wasn't it? As far as Lando's concerned, super quickly before I start my bloody coughing fits. Lando said post qualifying that, you know what, if we're blaming Pete, why were you so slow was the question that he was asked. And he did one of these. Just pointed at himself. I'm like, bloody no, what's going on here? When he's the same me, Lando, I just think the dude struggles with who he is. I think when he makes a mistake, he struggles with that. He's not expecting that from himself because he's been, look, all of these F1 drivers are always the best in the world coming up through the feeder formula, right? So losing is something brand new to them. And I get it. But Lando needs to take a leaf out of Rudyard Kipling's If No. Meet with triumph and disaster and treat both those imposters both the same. It needs to be more level, more stoic, because I feel like it's the end of the world anytime Lando makes a mistake of the unforced variety. It's not good. It doesn't bode well. So too, made worse by the fact that Oscar Piastri coming to the fore, right? Momentum settings. You saw how pleased Zach Brown was with Oscar Piastri's performance. Lando Norris will see that and be thinking twice. In Lando Norris's mind, he'll be the star boy of the papaya-coloured team. Well, how about now? Oscar Piastri is the one who's braver, quicker through the high-speed turns. That's Zach Brown's words, not mine. And that has to stand for something. They'll be looking to one of their drivers to put McLaren on the map as far as Bahrain's concerned, because their majority owners are from where? They're the Bahraini Sovereign Wealth Fund, and that has to mean something. You've got to deliver for the stakeholders, particularly in their home territory. It's techie chat. It's techier than techie things. I'll tell you what else. As far as Lando's concerned, when you hear his post-race press conference and he's doing one of these, he also goes on to expound on that sentiment and say the following. I've got to thank the team. They're doing all they need to do. They've built a brilliant car. It's not the car. It's me. And that, from one standpoint, Sir Lewis Hamilton fans will be doing this as far as Sir Lewis's interview as well. You've got to admire the accountability, right? The honesty. What happens next, Lando? That's my question. Is now and has always been. Build on this. Bottle that sentiment with a view to ensure that it never happens again. Just like Michael Schumacher did when he made mistakes of the unforced variety. And he did 1994 Adelaide as an example. So too Lewis. Lewis would take a mistake and he would bottle it up with a view to remember that pain and never ever make it again. Lando Norris keeps making these mistakes though, and that's why I am concerned about the fella. Not because of his insubstantial potential and driving ability, because he's God tier. When he's had his Weetabix, nobody's catching him, sans a Max Verstappen or maybe a Sir Lewis Hamilton in the same machine. He's rapid, is Lando, but again, your abilities to deliver on a Sunday, 25 points Drivers' Championship. Speed is only half the way there, right? That's only half of the equation. What about your mental fortitude or lack thereof in the instance of one Lando Norris? That's what leaves me concerned, chat. Maybe he can turn it around. Maybe he can go and win the race tomorrow, but now he's made his life more difficult than it needed to be unnecessarily so. Because behind him, who has he? What? Maximilian Verstappen, for the avoidance of doubt. A fire-breathing dragon looking to fix for the ills of his team and that understeery RB21 tomorrow. Fight in real time for a championship. So Lando Norris will have to fend Max Verstappen off at the start of the race. That's the thing that he struggled to do for the longest time. Consolidate for your position at the start of the race. Almost as if he hasn't warmed up. Almost as if Lando needs to play his way into the crease to become Lando Norris 2.0. Lando Norris 1.0 is who you can expect to see at the starting line tomorrow if past is prologue. So too, you think I'm being harsh on Lando? I was listening to the James Allen on F1 podcast, GOAT settings each and every single time. One of the best commentators to have ever commentated, providing the legendary soundtrack to F1 for so many years. Here's what James Allen had to say. Lando probably should have won last year. If not for ruthlessness or lack thereof, he would have got it done last year. Hungary, who switches around? You think Schumacher's doing that? You think Seb Vettel is doing that? You think Sir Lewis or Max Verstappen would do that? You bet your bottom dollar that Max Verstappen would never do what Lando Norris did in Hungary last year. See the position. What? When I'm fighting for a championship of the drivers' variety, behave yourself. No chance. Never, ever, ever, never. He wouldn't do it. And I think that's what Lando needs to learn. Not necessarily to mould his personality in somebody else's image. That's what he keeps saying, right? That, I don't need to be somebody else necessarily. I can be my own self. I can be myself, keep my sense of humour and all of my other personality traits. And that fella can win a world championship. And he might be right. He may well be right. But there are traits that you can steal from the GOATiest was Nico Rosberg's industry resilience and commitment to the cause, Michael Schumacher's craft, Max Verstappen's hard-nosedness and aggression on track, Lewis Hamilton's absolute speed, breaknecking. Take from all of these, Lando, surely, lest you be destined to repeat the mistakes of Christmas past. Let's talk very quickly about Max Verstappen, because again, it wasn't fantastic, right? It was a messy qualifying. Let's sack off Q3 or like by itself. Let's ignore that for a second, because all of qualifying for Max, there were mistakes and understeer moments, and it wasn't great. Bank a lap around Bahrain is the modus operandi. That's what you want to do. That's the Magna Carta as far as qualifying strategies, right? Max Verstappen couldn't do it. No, he didn't do it at the altar of a very understeery RB21. If you don't believe me, just go and check the onboard. You will see him soaring and fighting at the steering, in stark contrast to the Max Verstappen and the RB21 that we saw at Suzuka last race weekend. Even that being said though, P7, not fantastic. Max is supposed to be competing for a championship now. Now, I would tinge what I'm about to say with this. 70-30 is the car driver split. You can never do it if you don't have the car. Max Verstappen naysayers will say, well, I told you if he doesn't have the car, he's rubbish. Well, I don't know. You need to apply that circumstance and aspect to all drivers in F1 ever. There's been no driver who's ever won a championship in a car that wasn't championship worthy. You could argue that Max Verstappen twice has won a championship in a non-constructor championship winning car that year, 2021, and I want to say 2024 last year. There's only a few drivers in F1 history to do that. Piquet did it once in 81 and 87. Ironic given the fact that he's the grandfather to Max Verstappen's firstborn. Great lineage, way to nurture. What? So you want to make an F1 driver? It's techie. Wayne says, when was you being honest with yourself considered negative? Oh, Wayne, it's techie that. For me, I don't think you want to spin Lewis's interview in a negative way. But it is concerning that Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time champion, is talking like that as a crisis of confidence. Wayne, it's concerning, chap. That's growth. I don't hate it. I don't hate the way in which you've couched it, Wayne. And I don't think you're wrong, chap. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But it is concerning, mate. I'll tell you that much. Again, I feel not vindicated necessarily, that's the wrong word. But I feel like I've been the canary in the mine for the longest time, singing into the vacuum of Sir Lewis Hamilton fans, stands and extremists, fundamentalists alike, who want to do one of these. Lewis is going to win an 8th? No, can't do that, Wayne. It's problems. It's going to be a struggle for him to get it done. But what do I know? There's too much pressure on Lewis. You can see that pressure. I don't think it's the pressure, Tony. I don't think it's the pressure. It's not the pressure. I'll tell you what it is. It's the entirety of the circuit. This isn't difficult, right? It's a very complicated, multi-dimensional, automotive, pugilistic Rubik's Cube for which Lewis Hamilton will need to solve. The car isn't quick. He's not jumping into McLaren. That's a championship winner already of a car. That Ferrari, political. You heard Luca de Montezemolo talking about they lack leadership. What's going on? Long gone are the days of Jean Todt, who protected the drivers and the team principal from all of the C-suite exec bobs over at Scuderia Ferrari. Those days are gone. And that has to matter as far as Lewis trying to solve for this. It's techie. Techier than techie things. Here's hoping it goes well tomorrow. Because, I mean, we need a good news story, eh? It is going to be chaos. So, Lewis, Lando Norris, over to you, chaps. Make a mug of me tomorrow. Put my face in the dirt. Make me eat my words. I would love nothing more than to do that. Lando, you got an opportunity, chap. If you can make it to podium, props, damage limitation settings. Max Verstappen too, by the way. Expect him to go really well. Moreover, He's hoping Sir Lewis Hamilton can partially offset some of the deficiencies of the car, the organisational infrastructure, logistical, etc., and the lack of inspirational leadership per the legend of Scuderia Ferrari. Red car, yellow badge, black prancing horse atop, the one that they call Luca di Montezemolo. What are we doing here?